I've known about Antaeus for many years. I've been in LA for so many years, and of course you can't. Not that I would want to throw a rock. This is a terrible expression, but you can't throw a rock and not run into an Antaeus actor whenever you're at an audition. It's really a high level of work, I think, and the actors are interesting and well trained and really exciting. And whenever I would see something, especially like at SCR, where I would love this actor, I'd look, and of course they would be a company member. I was invited to join their writers circle a couple of years ago, thanks to Sarah Tuft, who I met doing some work for the Dramatists Guild. And I really liked it. I liked the way they, I just like everything about the way they help playwrights and the way they nurture playwrights and the way they nurture their actors too. I feel like it's very humanistic, and it just feels like a very lovely atmosphere. So that's how I got into Antaeus. I like working with the Antaeus Writers Lab because the quality of the actors you get is so high that you, as the writer, can actually just concentrate on your work because, the one thing is, if an actor is too good, they can make anything sound fantastic. So in a way, it makes your life a little bit difficult as a writer, because if they're so good and you say, oh, well, that works. And then you take it away and you get another person in there who maybe doesn't have the same kind of experience, doesn't know how to hit beats or how to make transitions. So sometimes they're almost too good, really good. But what works, especially for a writer like me who loves to collaborate with actors, is that I don't have to tell them. Right. I try to put I don't like to put stage directions on the page anymore. I'm working really hard at like eliminating all stage directions, because I think it makes things unreadable for the readers. And if you want to get produced, you have to get people to read the whole thing. That's another thing I hammer my students about. I'm like, if in class we're stumbling to read your play all the time, because there's too many stage directions, or because for whatever reason, I don't say you have to change it, but you have to look at it, really look at it and say, is this what I want to put into the world? Because if we're stumbling and we know your work, how is somebody who doesn't know your work going to react when they see, a page and a half of cross down stage left and go up stage? I can almost guarantee you never need stuff like that in a play. But because my point is, you get a really good actor in there and you just give them a monologue and you have no stage directions, and they'll get it. They know how to work beat to beat. They know how to work moment to moment. They know how to find, their job is to find the through line and find the wants and find the objective. And your job as the writer is to give them the map. You can't be too prescriptive with an actor, right? I feel like that's something that a lot of writers are like, why is that actor doing my role? That actor is doing something terrible to my script. And I always think to myself, that's me. That's all on me. I'm the map maker. If my map is in good shape, the actor should be able to interpret it the way I want it to. And if he isn't, or she isn't, then it's on me to kind of go back and figure out how to make it a clearer map for them. The question is, why should there be more stories from the community in the theater world? And the answer to that is, it's because that's real life. I mean, I think a lot of the times we've sort of bought a bill of goods that a certain thing that we see in the theater is actually how the world is, but it's exclusionary to a lot of people who don't see themselves on stage. For example, I never saw myself on stage, not really, not ever really. So, I mean, I'm not Anita from West Side Story. I'm not Puerto Rican. I'm not that person. I'm not that story. And I'd love for your audience to really think about how many actual Latinx characters in the theater they know of and that they can think of. And then go ahead and think about the same, think about the characters that that aren't Latinx. And just look at the disparity in that. And we're a huge population, and we deserve our stories to be told, and we deserve them to be told by the bigger theaters, all the theaters. And that goes for the Asian community, that goes for, of course, the Black community, that goes for the indigenous community, which even more than the Latinx community has been erased completely from the theatrical narrative. It's elitist and it's wrong. And the fact that, I love me some Shakespeare, but he's not the only one, who created theater. And if you always go back to the same well, you're missing out on a lot of stories. And sometimes just putting BIPOC actors in stories and thinking, oh yeah, well now they've got their story. It's not the same. It's not the same. I mean, imagine if you didn't have any stories out there that sounded like you, it becomes very, very lonely. And you think, I don't exist. It becomes an existential crisis of, but I'm here. Why does everybody think I don't exist? I mean, God knows it's ridiculous in film and television. If I have to see another like Narcos or as an interpretation of what a Latino is meant to be, I'll scream. The Antaeus Theatre Lab is important for the Los Angeles theater community because it nurtures and grows Los Angeles playwrights who deserve a bigger platform and who deserve to be heard and who are just as interesting and just as exciting as anything going on in New York. And I would wager to say every region of the country has very exciting playwrights that should be supported by their home theaters as opposed to importing everything from New York. I love New York. I think New York's fantastic. But there are great regional works going on all over the country, all over the world. And it becomes, again, we're just back to sort of elitism and only one thing is good. I just think that a lab like this allows different kinds of stories to be told. Why would I tell other playwrights and actors to be involved with Antaeus Theatre Company? It's really high quality work. It's a very nurturing environment. It's fun to work with really high level actors and writers. It's a little bit like, you play tennis with a better tennis player, you're going to become a better tennis player yourself. Places like Antaeus Theatre Company are local theater companies for the community. And I think it's important that we have the voices that are right in there in the community for people to go and access and see. I mean, if we don't support our smaller theaters, then we will lose a pretty important voice. And because the smaller theaters are the ones producing more diverse playwrights and more diverse stories you're not going to see on the main stages, stories by women. So if you cut off the small theaters, you're going to cut off a lot of voices. So they're always worth your support. And I would say, even as an audience member, you can get involved, you can get involved. You can start, come be an usher, come work the box office, and then decide you want to write something, go take an acting class. I tell everybody to take an acting class. Not only will it be the most fun you'll have in your life, and you'll meet some wonderful people, you might spark something. And I love acting. I love theater. It's really fun. It's just a fun thing to do. I won't lie. So maybe it's not the most noble or, we're definitely not curing COVID, but we are bringing joy to ourselves, which sounds a little bit selfish, but I wager that a lot of us could use a little bit of joy right now.